happen. So I've been impressed with what Khalil Shakir has done, but will that change when defenses change and get inevitably harder around him if there's another guy that's not there to decoy or distract or be another target? See, now you're going to do that, and that pisses me off.
We didn't even need to say anything.
We just wanted to make sure you had completed your point. Were we good? We were good.
We weren't going to cut her off this time, I swear.
All right, welcome back to the Buffalo Plus channel presented by Connors and Ferris. Mike Catalana, Dan Fates. I am Jenna Cottrell. We are back from Orchard Park. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel, share.
Are we a little punchy?
I think so.
Yeah, whole day together.
I was going to say, we had a whole day together up in Orchard Park. We heard from
trip.
Brandon Beane, Sean McDermott, as well as Josh Allen. And I want to start there because we had already heard from Beane. Oh, I already said it. If you were listening.
Yeah, you were clapping, but while you were supposed to be
listening.
Like
zoned out.
You were listening.
Yeah.
You all were listening, not Dan. But we already heard from Brandon Beane about the Stefon Diggs trade. But Mike, today we got to hear finally from Josh Allen.
Yeah.
What did you make of what he said?
First of all, he's good at navigating everything.
Yeah.
And he's in that off-season non-game mode because we've seen him at times when it goes really bad in a game and he's just terrible. Usually he's highly critical of himself. He doesn't seem well. That's not today. Today he was pretty relaxed. I thought he went high road the whole time.
Yeah.
And he certainly didn't give anything to anybody. But he also, I think, just told the public version of what he wanted the story to be.
Yeah, I think there were some of the things that we had checked. We had checked on the bingo card heading into this press conference. He loves him, brother. Loves him like a brother.
It is a business.
It is a business.
Yeah.
Wishes him well.
Yeah.
Yeah, all those things.
Nothing was really said today, especially from Josh, that surprised me in that sense. And I think Jenna had this when we recorded our video for TV was that you said he was earnest.
Yeah. I felt like that was the vibe I got where it was, I think some time had happened, obviously. I think there was enough to digest the moment. And I think he was earnest in what he was saying. I appreciate Diggs, the player he helped me become. Essentially saying like, I owe a lot to that guy. He taught us how to win. He taught us, a lot. So I thought that was a very respectful way of sharing it and saying the fact that he's going to miss him. And also he said, now ahead, it's a new opportunity for this team. And it absolutely is.
I was thinking about this is real life stuff when you're talking about relationships. We're not talking about, he didn't fit in our offense, and that type of thing. How would anybody want to react to this? Like, there's no particular reason to tell the full truth publicly about any of this. Yeah. Whatever it is between them, if whatever it was, like, as much as we want to know as much as we can to get a feel of it, the truth is it's a relationship between two people that is none of anybody else's business to a point. Now, it did lead to somewhat the team making a decision to move on from him. But I mean, there's a point where like, he's only going to tell you so much what he wants to.
Yeah.
And I think that's what most of you or I or anybody would do if you're talking about a relationship that has come to an end or at least changed.
Yeah. And that goes for not only what Josh said, but also the fact of what we had heard from Beane and McDermott as well. And what's you're trying to read in between the lines too, right? The one thing that stood out to me in between the lines was there were questions that were phrased as, publicly it was made a big deal, all of these things, Diggs was unhappy. It was on ESPN. It led all these national media. It was these big headlines. How did you handle it? And one of the questions was, how did you learn from it? They never denied that there was a riff. Nobody ever said, the media made that up. Yeah, I don't know why you guys were saying that.
They stopped short of making a point about a riff. They
Correct.
Just did not.
They didn't confirm it, but they didn't deny it.
They didn't deny it.
Oh, well done.
I thought
perfect.
To me, that stood out.
Yeah.
Matt Perino for Syracuse.com, I thought he had some of the best questions on the day where he was, one of the questions was, did it become too much? And how did you handle it with ESPN? And everybody seemed to be leading the show with Diggs being unhappy. And Josh was just like, well, I have to wear a lot of hats as a leader and things like that. I would have thought that if even relaxed Josh could have come out, I almost expect him to say, well, you guys were the ones that made up the drama.
Oh, yeah.
Like I thought that was what we could have heard of. Well, you guys made a bigger deal. It really wasn't a big deal. It's just, this is the business and you can't keep everybody. That stood out to me as nobody said, no. You guys had it wrong. Like I've always told you, Diggs is my boy and we're real close. We heard that, but there was none of that part of first denying what the national media was said.
That is interesting because it's almost like by them not saying that, it's like, oh, maybe there was more into that than we believed.
What they didn't say to me spoke a little loudly.
But except
I think
no, go ahead.
Personally, the move had already been done.
Yeah.
Now it's like when you have a breakup and afterwards people are like, oh, how is it? And you're respectful.
Yes.
But there's a reason why you broke up.
Yeah, and everybody knows that. And in this case, it does them no good to say anymore. And that's why I say, as people, why would you go into any more detail?
Yeah.
You don't need to. Now, I'll say this. What I wanted to know from the last news conference with Brandon Beane after the move was, he said, well, Josh was aware that we were potentially going to trade Steph. He had let him know about that. Because at that time, he said, well, I haven't talked to him since the trade. Now, he's obviously talked to him since. So I said to him, what was it like when you talked to Josh right before? You're telling your quarterback, we are trading your number one wide receiver and this guy that there has been this relationship with this whole time. Here's what Beane had to say, and then you'll hear from Josh on his thoughts on Diggs.
Josh is really mature and understands that sometimes I'm calling him about things to say, how do you see it? Sometimes I'm calling him just to say, hey, this is where we're at. I don't want you to be blindsided, things like that. I'm not really going to weigh into where the conversation with Steph. I just think it needs to be kept between me and Josh, just out of respect.
My lasting memory of Steph will be the receiver that helped me become the quarterback that I am today. And, I'll always thank him for that. I shared a text with him and got one back and just thanking him for everything that he did for me, and always have a spot in my heart for him. And I always love that guy like a brother, and, wish him nothing but the best.
Yeah. So you hear Josh, like I said, high road for him. But Beane's answer, which again, I respect him saying it's just between us.
It was a perfectly phrased question.
Yeah, it was.
Thanks.
It was well done. I also thought it was interesting though when Josh was talked about, like, have you talked to Diggs or anything? And Josh said, I texted him and I did receive a text back.
Yeah, that was it.
I was like, that is very interesting to me that you would acknowledge the fact that you received something back. Because I was like, oh, that's interesting.
We've all said that.
If I texted you, I wouldn't be like, and Dan I'd be like, I texted Dan. And I assume, you would assume I'm getting a text back.
It wasn't a conversation. It was a text
and a response.
And a text back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
not a conversation. A conversation, you go back and forth. That was, he said something, Diggs said something, the end.
Yeah.
But we will get, when Houston and the Bills play this year, we will get a pregame hug, smile. Maybe they'll break out an old handshake.
Dap.
Josh will be, we talked about before, Josh will be in headphones. Diggs, they'll have their headphones on pregame. Josh will stop throwing the football to go over to him.
Yeah. Josh will be in the hoodie. T-shirt or a hoodie.
Yeah. Depending on time of the year.
I was going to say.
So real quick, it's a primetime game and 100%. It's early in the year.
Thursday
I say
night.
Late September, early October.
Yeah.
Because it's playing off last year.
Yep.
And these two teams this year.
Yep.
In Houston.
Because you also want to, if you're a schedule, you're going to want to take advantage of the hype that Houston has.
Yes.
And the juice that's left in this Diggs Allen story.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 1,000%.
And listen, we're not harping on this. It was good to hear from Josh. I will say there is a sense of moving on for the entire organization. And you can kind of see, I get more of a feel listening to them, why it needed to happen. We didn't sense it as much after the season.
Correct.
Because I think the thought was, well, they got to replace him. Maybe they draft somebody, all that. And I think organizationally, they needed to move on. And I think, obviously, if you got Diggs, I think Diggs felt like he needed to move on. So that's what happens.
Yeah. I thought his demeanor also was more in terms of Josh was a little bit more, like I said before, earnest, but also it felt like off-season Josh that we're used
Yeah.
to. Having some personality, having some fun with some questions. He did mention though, and I thought this was important because I've been asked a couple times, like, what do you want to see from Josh Allen going forward? And I said, I want to see Josh become a more demanding leader. And he said in his press conference today, with like 5 captains now gone off of this team, how he has now the opportunity to grow as a leader. He says he's willing to do that job. He's capable of being that guy, and he already thinks he can be. So I thought that was interesting, though, for him to actually physically acknowledge the fact that there was more room to grow there.
Yes. But it's funny, you use the word demanding leader. There's a difference between being a leader. Let's go, guys. Come on. We're only down 6. Let's make a play. Come on. You can do it. Don't worry about the drop. And do your damn job. Catch the ball. You ran the wrong route. Like whatever that is. In whatever form that takes for Josh Allen to be himself. Hey, Khalil, run the route right. Know the play. And I'm just picking that.
Yeah.
You know, whatever it is.
And for as much as Josh says he's looking forward to embracing that opportunity, that challenge to be that leader. And, he did say at times he kind of just wants to be himself. But then he did say, like today, like, I am a franchise quarterback. I have to wear multiple hats.
Yeah.
I can't just be, because he even said, I want to be just one of the guys. Josh, you're not one of the guys. You're worth a quarter of a billion.
You're the guy.
You're the
Yeah.
guy. There's a $250 million invested in you. And you not only have to be a leader on the field, you have to be a leader off the field, in meetings, in practices, all of those things. And it almost was like, maybe partly because of the roster around him, he hasn't needed to be any more than himself. He said, it's going to be weird not having Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer to talk to, even not just about football, about life. He had Diggs. He had Mitch Morse. Like, he had dogs. He had leaders, grown ass men that had been there before.
And had been around him.
Yes.
And this is where I think changes. He's had Diggs with him. He had Gabe with him for a while. You sort of fall into, this is the way the structure works. I think this is the time for Josh to establish a little more
asshole
dominance over the players. Like, hey, listen, say what Tom Brady is an ass to his teammates. They all talked about it in the football sense because he did it that way. He wanted it done. I don't think Josh will ever be that, but he needs to be more. And when you say demanding, I think that's a key thing for him. I don't know if he's got it in him.
I don't know if he has that gear.
It's a lot easier with a rookie wide receiver, even a new guy, Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir, than it probably was with Beasley, Brown. It's always been a guy who's been somebody before. These guys are coming in. Now you're coming in going, oh shit, I'm playing with Josh Allen.
And it's also, he talks about, it's not always a bad thing for the roster to get younger. We've talked about that the roster's getting younger. Now Josh is older. Josh isn't
entering his 7th year.
Like that. Maybe now you can be more of that asshole. And maybe that's what this team needs a little bit of.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Like
the demanding part. It's not just being a jerk.
Yes. It's
like,
not being Aaron Rodgers.
You know we know the expectation.
That's a whole nother story.
And during the game, do it. You know, you can be encouraging while you're still telling them this isn't good enough. We got to be better.
You have to be better.
Yeah. So
I did want to mention too, Allen said that his shoulder feels good. I know people were worried about that going into the offseason. So that's just one.
Well, I hope so, because you remember, even at camp last year, he was constantly getting it, looked at with the shoulder. He's had issues with that. So,
absolutely.
You know what helps it is a golf swing.
Golf.
Swing the golf club.
Played with Tiger.
Yeah.
He also did a YouTube video with
Great
Grant
question.
Horvath.
Ask him. He's lit up when you asked him about that.
I've never seen him smile so big
He was
before.
so happy.
Like, I joked around about it. I go, it's like what it's Jenna's face when the meal comes out at the restaurant.
when you identify the chicken fingers that are yours.
Yeah. Hey, it's with Tiger. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
He said, you never want to meet your heroes unless your hero is Tiger Woods.
That's
pretty
cool.
good.
That is so cool.
Fun.
All right, we also heard from Sean McDermott, but Brandon Beane too.
Yeah.
And we're recording this on Thursday. We are 1 week away from the NFL draft. Bills at 28. They have 10 picks. Brandon Beane, I don't know what we're going to do.
Yeah, I think 7th round, last pick, they might take a wide receiver. They don't need anything. They're set.
We don't have a, quote, glaring hole at wide receiver, end quote, Brandon Beane. Dan.
The only
That was
hole
adorable.
bigger is the new one for the stadium across the
The
street.
pit.
The pit over there. No. Yes, he knows it. We all know it. And then,
Yeah.
we talk about smoke screens. Like the other teams in the league are looking at the Bills. They're going, oh, they need a wide receiver.
Yeah,
they need a wide receiver.
They need a wide receiver. We joke
That's
around
cute.
about
That's what they're saying.
we
That's
joke around
cute.
about that. A lot of teams need a wide receiver. Like it's not really a secret, right? And Matt Perino, again of Syracuse.com, I thought asked a very poignant question. And he phrased it as other teams around the league are finding success on offense without having a true number one. Houston pretty much did it with Tank Dell as well as Nico Collins. Green Bay did it with a lot of day 2, day 3 wide receivers, and it was kind of a wide receiver by committee. Bean was asked if he feels there's a need to have a true number one wide receiver.
No, I mean, listen, you'd love to have two guys out there that are number ones, you know what I mean? Or like you're always going to try to find the best players you can. No, what you need are guys that in this offense that are smart, versatile, selfless, and can make the plays that their skill set allows them to make. And if it's a tall guy that's going to, Josh is going to throw up a 50-50 ball, he's got to come down with it. If it's a guy that we want to get the ball in his hands, and when we need some rack, he's going to do that. I think that's what we're looking for. If there's a one that pops up either in free agency or draft that makes sense for us, or a really good two, we'll do it. But I don't think having a one or not having a one, Matt, doesn't mean we can't have success.
Yeah, I don't care what he says.
Yeah, he needs one.
It was also there was a shot at Diggs. There's shade about the selflessness.
Yeah,
I think it was very subtle. You don't think it was subtle?
I don't think that was subtle.
I don't think it was like we're taking
subtle.
a shot. It's just this is what their mindset is. What they want is a player who doesn't need all that to become then hopefully a player who will at times act like a diva because he's that good. Because it's hard to find the wide receiver that doesn't act that way. But I think they want the production. It doesn't necessarily all fall on one guy that they bring in, because that's a hard thing to ask for from any rookie.
As of right now, and again, like, comment, subscribe, comment in with what you think about Brandon Beane's comments about not needing a true number one wide receiver if they can just be selfless and versatile and all of these things. We were driving back from Buffalo today. Mike, you and I thought we were kind of talking about it while we had lunch. They have a bottom 5 wide receiver room as it starts right now.
And listen, I think first of all, let's take the tight end out of there, though. I think he's a very good pass catcher.
Correct.
And he's going to be among the top catchers at the position. But in terms of wide receiver room,
what's worse?
You have Curtis Samuel, who has been an okay player in the league, albeit with bad quarterback play or average most of his career. You have Khalil Shakir, who we all like, who moved into that role of more of a third receiver.
Yeah.
Maybe he progresses beyond that, which would be great. His numbers based on the amount of targets were good, but like you're hoping that he can eventually evolve into a number 2 type player, right? That would be the ceiling. I think. I don't think anybody thinks Khalil Shakir is a number 1 guy.
Yeah, well, I think asking him to be a number 2 is a lot.
You can hope that he evolves into that. Maybe he doesn't.
And I think the point needs to be mentioned when people are like, well, Shakir had a really great end of the season. He's emerging. He can become a 2 or a 1.
Oh, you're going to steal my point.
Oh, about?
Go for it.
Okay. All right. Well, with Diggs no longer being on the field, that changes how a defense will prepare. And so, whereas,
oh no, I'm sorry. I was.
Whereas you would have, you're gonna.
I apologize.
Oh, the comments are going to go crazy.
They're going to blame it on you.
The viewers absolutely hate when we cut Jenna off. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. I don't know what time code this is going to be, but it's all going to be like, these guys are so annoying. Let Jenna talk. That's what all the comments are going to be.
But my point was the fact that defenses will change. And when you don't have Stefon Diggs on your team in the game, then other players will get a lot more attention. So I've been impressed with what Khalil Shakir has done, but will that change when defenses change and get inevitably harder around him if there's another guy that's not there to decoy or distract or be another target? See, now you're gonna do that, and that pisses me off.
We didn't even need to say anything.
We just wanted to make sure you had completed your point. Were we good? We were good.
We weren't going to cut her off this time, I swear.
But hang on. I would say, yes, Diggs
PETAs.
around him. People, there's attention on Diggs, but also now there's more targets out there. So it can balance a little bit. But my point is, come on. I mean, Mac Hollins, like this is who they have. Oh, and
I'll say it together. 3, 2, 1.
Justin Shorter.
I was going to let you guys have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
it was his birthday yesterday. So
happy birthday.
I think somebody commented in, and I'm gullible, so I'll be like, "Yeah, happy birthday, Justin."
Yeah, so you got to try. But none of these guys either have never accomplished anything, have only accomplished to a point. Like they need wide receivers.
Yeah,
I think they need a veteran to go with this group.
Yeah,
Odell.
It was his birthday yesterday.
Happy
he was
birthday.
born in the year 2000.
Oh,
who was?
That makes me feel
Justin Shorter.
so old.
I hope Justin Shorter's really good.
Yeah.
Because then we can look back on all this and say, see, we were ahead of everybody.
We were ahead of it. Yeah.
We love being ahead of it. And if we weren't, we won't mention it.
No, but I'm saying is their wide receiver room is just not good at the moment. They need there are going to be 2 people brought into this wide receiver room that are on the active roster week 1. That's the way I look at it.
Oh, absolutely.
A rookie and a veteran that they bring in. It's certainly at least the rookie they're going to draft.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is a glaring need, and they everybody knows it, but that's fine. You can still get a player, even if everybody knows it. You can go out and get them. So,
Brandon Beane did say that this year he has more first round draft grades than he did a season ago, but that's still not 28.
He doesn't have 28.
He does not have 28, which he's always said in the past that. And here is where things do get interesting because a lot of people, they do have the ability if they wanted to move back. And Beane even talked about the difference between the end of the first round and the beginning of the second round are a lot closer together in terms of talent wise than where you're at the end of that second round. So compared to the end of the first round.
So let me ask you this. You're Brandon Beane, you're sitting there at 28. You have 4 receivers that you have second round grades on, high second round or good second round grades on. You're at 28. You might have a defensive end that you had maybe, again, a similar number on it. But you're sitting there at 28, and for whatever reason, you can't trade back. Or you can't get anything early in the second round. Nobody wants to, whatever. You can't wait till 60.
Yeah.
The chances are those receivers are gone. Is it better to, while you always want to maximize what you get
your guy.
Say it's McConkey.
Take your guy.
Do you just take him at 28?
Take your guy.
Right? I mean, yes, it's cheaper. There's the whole 5th year thing and all that goes with it. But if you sit there and go, there's nobody, if Latu, the guy from UCLA, is on the board and you clearly have him as a number 1 guy, then maybe you try to move up from 60 and get higher up and get the wide receiver, and you just have to take the guy and then you wait on the receivers. But unless you have like 8 guys ranked in the second round and you think the chances are pretty good, one of them is there, that's a long way to wait from 28 to 60.
It's a really good point. On top of that, we've been to enough combines, talked to enough people that like the first round kind of ends at like 20.
Yeah.
Like the end of the first round is the second round. So if you have a second round grade on McConkey, but don't think that he's going to make it to 60, or if you like Xavier Legette, like if those are your guys, take them there.
Yeah, because
I guess in my opinion, especially the position that the Bills are in, being at the end of the first round, being a perennial playoff team now at this point, like get your guy. If you have to overpay, if you draft them a little bit higher than what he's mocked or what people think it is, screw it. Get your guy, because you don't want to get caught with then all of a sudden not having what you want or not even filling your need.
Right. And you end up taking a player. Again, if
Boogie Basham.
It can, that was second round.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just that comparison
Honestly,
works for third round grades.
Even Greg Rousseau.
Yeah.
Was late in the round. What were they picking, 30 that year?
Yeah. I believe so, yeah.
And you took him. He's a good player. Again, he's a starting defensive end for this team. You get a starting player at 28 or 30.
You're
That's
happy.
good
in
the NFL. So if you like the receiver and if you were able to get him at 41,
Yeah.
I know you don't want to take him, but unless you can get to back and still get him, I don't know. They need him.
Well,
They've put themselves in a spot where they need that position.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. Well, I was interested in asking Bean, like, how much do you weigh Josh Allen's opinion? Because that to me is someone that's obviously the face of the franchise, and the guy that realistically will be throwing the ball. Like, how much do you put emphasis on that? And Bean was, obviously we take what Josh has into account. Josh doesn't know the medicals on a lot of these guys, but I did think, I want to know what you guys think too. It was interesting when Josh was talking and he said, yeah, last year I texted Bean on draft day, just Dalton Kincaid. That was the text, Dalton
Yeah.
Kincaid. Huh.
Now, keep in mind, at that point, they had talked to Josh about Dalton Kincaid.
Yeah.
He knew the Bills were interested in him. And he was in. And look, that's a good draft pick.
Yeah.
He's a really good player. And I think he'll help them a lot. But I don't know. No one asked him. He wouldn't have given the answer anyhow. But like,
I wanted to ask, obviously you wouldn't tell us, but do you have a favorite in this year? And he would have probably given that, like,
Rome Odunze.
I do have some concerns, and we see it a lot. Like, obviously Justin Shorter could be a future Pro Bowler. Like, all those things. I have concerns about, to Jenna's point, which is what we were talking about at lunch, of like, yes, Dalton Kincaid was a nice season, really good season. Now you're going to get more attention. And there's a lot of people I see out there who are like, when I tweeted out the Bean bite about him saying you don't need a number one wide receiver to be successful, you can spread it around. And people are saying, well, Dalton Kincaid is going to be the number one target. There will be more attention on Kincaid. And like this thought of like, well, Kelsey was the number one target for the Chiefs and they made that work. Comparing or hoping that you think Dalton Kincaid is going to be Travis Kelsey is a very lofty hope. And Jenna, what do I like to say? You can hope in one hand and shit in another and see which one fills up first.
That was your dad's? No, who had that? No, your dad had the.
Yeah. How many times do you have to get hit in the face with a sack of shit before you start to smell something?
Yeah.
Bleed Bud's going to be good on this one. But yeah, like that's my only concern. Like I looked it up over the last 10 seasons. There have been 23 seasons that a tight end has had over 1,000 yards. And Travis Kelsey has 7 of them.
Yeah.
And there's only been Gronk had multiple, Greg Olsen had multiple. Like last year there was one.
Yeah.
One tight end had 1,000 yards. So this thought of like, well, it's a physically demanding position. It is tough, but like guys that you see as perennial tight ends, your Mark Andrews, your Greg Kittles, your George Kittle, your Travis Kelsey, like even Ertz has only done it once.
Yeah.
Like it's not easy to just be like, well, your tight end's your number one guy. Jimmy Graham, I always thought of as like the most wide receiver tight end of all time, had 2 seasons of 1,000 yards. And that was on a Saints pass happy offense with Drew Brees.
Yeah.
And I know what people will say, because you said it too. I get the NFL has changed. And like it is definitely more pass forward.
Yeah.
But I'm just going off the last 10 years.
No, I hear you. I mean, I think that's an important notion because you just say like, oh, well, Dalton Kincaid, he'll be the guy, 1,000 yards for him. And then when you look up the numbers to back it up, now there is obviously more involvement in the tight end position as of the last, 10 years, 5 years, whatever you want to say. But that is important to note because I think here is where, and I don't want to speak for you, but I think this is where Dan got very, I don't want to say defensive, but I think it's easy for us to be like, well, this guy gets this many catches and that guy gets this many catches. And that makes up for the 1,000-yard season that Stefon Diggs had. When you actually break it down, that is a challenge because it is the NFL. And it's not easy to just say, here's 1,000 yards for that guy. That is honestly a testament to how good Diggs is. And the Bills will have to find a way, whether that be through committee or whether that be through drafting a guy. Hopefully it's a combination of both and more. But you can't just find that on trees.
And I appreciate you defending me and standing up for me.
Defending you being defensive.
Yeah.
How did we get here?
But that's also part of what the take or my stance on Gabe Davis was was that everybody just assumed he did this, so then he's going to go to here, and then he's going to go to here, and then he's going to go to here. And development and progress isn't always linear. So to say, well, this is what he did last year in this sample size, and if you expand the sample size, well, then he's obviously going to be more. That's not how like pro sports work.
I agree.
No.
I think two things. One, I think for fans, you've seen Josh Allen be able to push the goalpost back.
Josh
So,
is an anomaly in a lot of ways.
I agree, but when you see it, it makes you think that that's what can be done.
It can be.
It can be. I'm not sitting here saying Dalton Kincaid's not going to have 1,000 yards next season. I'm saying I'm wary because the history of tight ends is that it's hasn't been done a whole lot.
So 73 catches for 673 yards. So if you add,
and it was a slow start.
If you add another, what is that? 27 catches at 10 yards a catch is 270 yards. So you're up to just under 1,000.
Yeah, just under 1,000.
So yes, could he have 100 catches for 900? Yes,
and I agree
that's really
too.
good. But also keep in mind, it's a tight end. You're talking about 9 yards a catch, 10 yards a catch for most of them. So your wide receivers, you're hoping to get in the teens and above if you can replicate that. And it's fine to have that. Some of that production of Diggs can even go more to Kincaid.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's I don't know. We're making a point that everybody there knows. They have a glaring need at wide receiver.
Yeah.
They just do.
It's also grain of sand or grain of salt point in the season where like when Bean says you have to put a grain of salt. Like it's like, okay, you don't you're okay.
Yeah, because he's got him fooled.
Well, I
mean, the teams around him are going.
Well, we don't
Buffalo's
need a,
sad.
Buffalo doesn't need a wide receiver. Bean said they don't need a wide receiver one.
It is funny when you look at the teams that are looking to take the wide receivers, they either don't have a quarterback or have one that's not good, or it could be like Chicago where they have 2 high picks.
Yep.
So they're going to take the quarterback and then maybe take the receiver. If I'm at the Giants taking a receiver, they got Daniel Jones. And then you're talking about Arizona taking one. They got Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
Like at some point, like whatever. I mean, you don't have Josh Allen.
Yeah.
So the other teams, I mean, Kansas City was an anomaly last year.
Yeah.
They had a phenomenal defense. You got Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
You have Travis Kelce. You have Andy Reid. And it was tight as can be, but they found a way. They are a great team to win. But I guarantee you, when Brett Veach is looking at this draft, he's gone, let's get Mahomes a stud.
Yeah.
Let's get Mahomes another receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for everybody that watched the Matt Miller video, I thought
fantastic video.
Thought that was good insight. Caught up with him, ESPN draft analyst there, as well as I appreciate the comments. Dunze.
Yes.
I did it. So I said it 3 different ways, all incorrectly. And I just was covering.
Dunze.
Yeah, but I was going
Dunze. He went.
I was adding an extra syllable, and I was going all over the place.
I'm not going to lie. I heard it, but I wasn't confident enough.
Hey, listen, it was spelled right.
I asked Dan
Jenna?
how to spell something today.
It was comical.
He just laughed at me.
Texas wide receiver?
Adnai.
No! Yes, Adnai.
Adnai
Mitchell.
or AD. We just
AD
like
Mitchell.
AD, but Adnai.
Adnai.
And that's the other thing, too, that's coming around this year now. Like I said,
You wanted me Diggs?
yeah. Reports that he's a type 1 diabetic and that he wasn't.
I didn't see that.
Yeah,
That he doesn't necessarily take the best care of himself with that, and that when he gets low blood sugar and things like that, he can be moody.
Yeah.
Doesn't pay attention. I also think that in the NFL you have tons of support staff, and that's your full-time job of making sure you're on top of your medical.
It's also go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you.
Wait,
grain of salt season. Some stuff you never know about what
who's throwing it out.
Yeah,
there.
and how.
Yeah.
If I was
played
a
out
team,
it is.
are you done?
I mean,
If I was a team, I'd want to know what the maturity level of the guy is.
Yeah.
Because we're going to talk to him. We're going to help him. We're going to get him to that place where he's physically taking care of himself. It was interesting to hear Bean talk about the visits. I think what they like with the visits is getting the guy in the place, seeing how much they can pick up. Seeing that to me is that's no BS when they're saying that. Because they know
get
the
him on the
physical
board.
traits.
They like him on the board.
They go, can you do this? How
What
do
would
you
you do
adjust?
this? Yep.
Yes. And I think they learn a lot there. So, and for a wide receiver, you got to know the playbook. You got to know it. And you also have to get, they do like a player who can be part of the offense without always being the focus of the offense, whether that's blocking, running solid routes while the ball's going to go somewhere else. You better be Wayne Gretzky not back checking to be not having to do the other stuff, right? If you're a wide receiver that they're not really worried about it, like nobody cares if Tyreek Hill can block.
Yeah.
Because he flies.
Correct.
But with other players, you got to be able to do it all. And I think that's the kind of stuff. Is they coachable? Can they figure out the offense? Because the physical skill is pretty obvious.
Yeah. No, I
with many
agree.
of the players.
I did think it was an interesting note. The Bills had done all 30 top 30 visits, so they used all of them.
Yeah, Bean said his board's pretty much set.
Mm-hmm.
Not 28. I'm going to say he has 22.
Last year, I believe he had 18. So
Only
that's
18, huh?
And he said he had more.
He said
he
had
had more.
So maybe it's 20.
Geez, 22 is where I have them trading to the Eagles.
That is very interesting.
I think they traded 12. I think they go up to 12.
That's
Hey, let me tell you something.
Bean said that he doesn't like trading away. He doesn't like the thought of trading a future first-round pick, but said if it made sense, quote, heck yeah.
Wow.
That
Here's the other thing.
was so
I asked him a
dramatic.
question because I'm always curious about this. I said, if you are trading a future pick, how is it judged?
That was a good question.
And it's a round higher, a better pick. So if it would normally be, this year would be a third, it would be a round 2 pick.
No, I thought he said it was the other way.
No, because you're getting it a year later. So if in this year, you would say, we'll give you a 3 to move up. If you're going to trade me next year's pick, it's going to be a 2.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Correct.
Yes.
I said,
That is correct.
I was viewing it as if you're trading away next year's second, it's viewed as a third to the team that's accepting the pick because it's a round worse than what it is. It's the same math.
They're viewing it that way.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're viewing it the same way.
Yeah. So they say like, okay, like if on the chart it would be worth, so it'd be, oh, we move you here because it's this, because the Bills are perennial 20s
Playoff,
draft
yeah.
team.
Right.
So the other team's looking at it going,
Yeah, it's your second round pick, but
it's
realistically, your second round pick is
Almost a
essentially
third.
the
Third round pick.
Yeah.
beginning of the third.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
But that Minnesota second round pick,
that is
very
a
different.
very valuable pick.
that is quite a chip.
That's his ace up his sleeve.
It'd be great to have that. It also puts the Bills too next year in play because, depending on how much they're moving, you already have a second round pick, and it's likely going to be a better pick than the Bills pick. So it is nice to have that 2-2s. Yeah. Well, you don't know how Minnesota's going to be. I don't expect them, they're going through a transition at quarterback, but
Yeah.
you never know.
Anything else?
No.
We mentioned Justin Shorter, so
Yes, we got that taken care of. Special show 7:30 to 8 on Thursday, the night of the draft, leading into the draft. So that'll be fun. And
Jenna and I will be up there.
Be in Orchard
Mike
Park.
Kell will be in the studio.
Yes, I'll be at the
You're
studio.
gonna be so lonely. Who will you talk to?
I just talked to myself. Yeah. I think there's a Sixers playoff game that night too. Sixers Knicks.
We'll be just yelling. All right, for Mike and Dan, I'm Jenna. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, as well as share the podcast if you enjoy our stuff. We'll have plenty more coverage as we get ready for the NFL draft a week from tonight. Plenty of coverage. We'll also have... That was so embarrassing. We'll also have our picks on who we expect.
He
the Bills to
interrupted
do.
you.
He didn't mean to. He just...
How did
That was unathletic.
Now, if I did that,
It's
it
great
would be
podcasting.
Look
Oh
at
my
the old man.
gosh.
What's he doing?
I see what
So what should
Really?
what should we say to him?
Here's Dan.
All right, bye everyone. Thank you for watching. Buffalo Plus, presented by Connors and Ferris.
What is it again? Buffalo Plus.
Buffalo Plus, your interactive look at the week in football, brought to you by Connors and Ferris.